online reports are circulating that claim federal immigration agents, or ICE, were spotted in Greater Peoria looking for undocumented immigrants. Good Monday evening. I'm Tyler Lopez.
And I'm Janice Reppolz. Thanks for joining us. But we've learned today there's been no confirming source that they've been here, despite the dozens of concerned emails we've received. Sam Matheny joining us with more.
That's right. Dozens of people on Facebook shared that ICE agents were outside several Greater Peoria businesses, but I'm told by several sources that these claims are not true. One of the reported locations was One World Cafe located near Bradley University. I went in person today to ask the owner about these claims. The owner's told me that he has been at the restaurant all weekend and says he has not heard of or seen any immigration police at or nearby the restaurant. People online said agents were spotted at the Hy-Vee grocery store in Peoria off Sheridan. Our team called the store and spoke with the manager, who again told us no ICE agents were there either. Some Facebook users cited their claims with a picture of this Department of Homeland Security vehicle, which is also used to patrol around several government buildings, like the courthouse. 25 News is actively working to get more details. We have already contacted the ICE Office of Public Affairs in Washington. I asked them if ICE agents have been deployed to the Peoria and Bloomington-Normal areas and asked if any arrests have been made. So far, no response. The story will also be available in Spanish on our website, 25newsnow.com. Guys, back